Well, hi, everybody out there at the Voice of Geeks Network here at VOGnetwork.com and also VOG Network on most social media that you are probably on. I'm Rob Roberts, and I'm joined tonight with that little duck, that Quaxley. You must know it is Shane that's joining me tonight. Hi,
Hello,
how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Awesome. It's been a big day for gaming news. And so we want to do this video today to talk specifically about the Nintendo Direct and some reactions to the Direct that was shown today on September the 14th of 2023. I like to start these videos off with a little bit of too long didn't watch and kind of do the summary first, because all too often on YouTube, they make you wait till the end for that. Well, we'll do it at the beginning. So, Shane, I just kind of want to get your overall thoughts on today's Nintendo Direct.
My overall thoughts are no, I'll just sum it up. My overall thought is it's skippable.
Skippable? Was missable?
Yeah,
Why is
it's a
that?
pretty skippable direct.
Why is that?
I don't think there was really much great there.
Mhm.
Some of the some of the one cool thing that got leaked was correct,
Mhm.
and the rest, with the exception of maybe a 2 or 3 announcements, were pretty meh.
Okay. I'm gonna come back to that topic of leaks in a minute here, but first let me give my kind of too long didn't watch impressions. I thought it was all right. Like it wasn't as strong as the last direct that they did, but I'm trying to be very aware that if rumors about Nintendo are true, which more and more seems to be the case that yes, if there's a rumor out there about Nintendo, it's probably true. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever the Switch's successor is coming next year. I think it would have been foolish to assume that that would have gotten brought up at this direct. I know there's a lot of excitement on buzz on social media for that, but they're not going to cannibalize holiday sales of hardware by saying, don't buy one yet because the Switch 2 is coming soon, which is essentially what that would have been. So I understand that with the Switch 2 on the horizon, there's only so much they can show because they're not ready to pull the lid off of whatever is on the Switch's successor, which maybe this is a tangent of sorts, but in my opinion, Metroid Prime 4, which we've been awaiting for a very long time, is very likely on the Switch's successor at this point. That's just kind of how I see it breaking down, because if it was only on the regular Nintendo Switch at this point, like it's going to be too late if we get a Switch 2 next year, right? So I kind of feel like with that in the back of the mind, like I feel like the bar shouldn't have been too high going into this anyway. And I realize that Nintendo does have a tendency to surprise us. And I think there were a few cute things in here. But overall, I felt they did as well as they could, realizing the specific situation that's going on, right?
Yeah, this felt like a direct that's at the end of the life of a console.
Yeah, which
It
I mean,
is.
it
Yeah.
is if you believe rumors. Let's talk about rumors, okay? Because you brought up leaks. Let's start off talking about that. You brought up leaks, and there were several things that were leaked in advance that ended
Mhm.
up being true in this direct, such as I know
Yes.
you had texted me about the F-Zero 99. That ended up being a leak that came true. I want to say, wasn't the Mario and Donkey Kong
Mario
piece?
versus Donkey
Yeah,
Kong was in there.
was in there as well.
Um,
So,
Another code was
mhm.
also leaked,
So a good
and
significant part of this is leaks, right? It was leaked. So are leaks ruining directs? Are we doing
no,
a disservice to Nintendo by saying, I wasn't that impressed by it because I'd already read it the other day in a leak?
no, I think it's fine.
Hmm.
Um, I so another code leaking was probably the coolest thing to me, like when it first leaked.
Yeah.
And while I wasn't like shocked that it showed up, it's still something I was excited for. So it didn't take away the excitement, it just took away the shock, which isn't like that big of a deal
Hmm.
to me.
Yeah, I suppose that, hearing about it is one thing, but seeing it is another, right? So, hearing about another code, you're kind of like, oh, okay. But then you kind of see it and you're like, oh, wow, it looks, it looks really good and all that stuff. Like, I guess there is a certain type of buzz that comes with that and, how they ultimately choose to show it off, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to comment in chat real quick to Dark Tetsuya. The leaks did specifically say what they would be showing.
Hmm.
These most recent leaks, were for this direct, not just a general. like Nintendo's working on this
But
sort of deal.
there's also certain leakers that seem to be more prominent than others. Like, because I seem to
Yes.
recall somebody out there said the F-Zero GX remake was finally coming, which is just leaning into wishes from the community, especially mine, more than reality, right? It's making those leaks that people want to be true. Just because you want it to be true doesn't mean it is true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about some of the things. So you mentioned another code. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but what were some of like the really like standout pieces of the direct to you?
Another code, 100%. I
Mhm.
loved the game on the DS. I didn't even remember that we didn't get the sequel. So
I actually
it's
don't know
very,
much about this game. Why should I care about this game if I don't know much about it?
it's just one of those like not like visual novel style games. It's like an adventure slash visual novel. It's puzzles. It's
Mhm,
great.
mhm.
Um, it was just like part of that whole time frame during the DS life where they tried different things. Um, Another thing, I'm trying to think of things or look through my notes for games that weren't already announced. Um, and oh, the absolute highlight for me, which I guess is kind of sad considering they announced stuff and whatever, but Eiyuden Chronicle finally getting a release date.
Oh yeah, but
Since
you
I'm a Kickstarter backer,
yeah. I
I've been waiting for
forgot I
this game
kickstarted
for
back that. What
years.
year was did we kickstart back that? Like 2016? It's been forever.
No, no.
It
I
feels
want to
like
say
it.
like 2019,
My God,
2020
if
maybe. It
if
was
it's
originally supposed to come out in 2022.
it's been a long 12
So,
years of COVID, I guess. It's yeah, my sense of time is totally
yeah.
messed up.
And it looks pretty good, so I'm
No, it does look
excited.
great. But admittedly, and if viewers don't know Shane well, which I don't blame you, you have a deep love of Suikoden, so like that is absolutely up your alley.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Um and if I'm being honest, that's kind of where like the main things for the direct end for me.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I thought the Princess Peach game looked fine. I was kind of into this. I mean, it's very different, but like I want to give these games a shot that do shake up the formula and do something different. You know, there's a lot
Yes.
of new characters that are being shown in this, like this, Stella the flower we're looking at here and the witch that's is a very kind of separate universe being made for this, but yet it still feels based on the art like it's very kind of hybrid between like what you expect out of a modern 2D 3D Mario, but then also kind of has that element of like the the Yoshi Island games, whatever those are now. The the young Yoshi games is it feels like kind of a mix of that a little bit. And obviously I love the idea of like a dress sphere type of mechanic coming to the Princess Peach side games. Like obviously this is completely ignoring the DS Princess Peach game. Was that on the DS Super Princess Peach? That was a DS
The
game,
one
right?
where she used her
Yeah,
emotions.
that was which
Yes.
obviously does not age well, and that is
No.
not a mechanic that would work very well in 2023, and that's fine because I think this is better. I
Yeah,
think I don't think there's a ton of people that look back on Super Princess Peach and go, "Oh, that was a must play," but I think this one looks a lot more promising, and I like that it's not just, "Oh, Peach," it's like she gets her own universe, which is kind of cool, or a spin-off to the universe.
I feel like I mean, I think this game's going to be good.
Mhm.
I just it looks like it's going to be a solid game. I don't know if it's going to be.
Yeah, I still
I'm going to say this bad. This is going to sound bad. I don't know if it's going to be too easy, and I feel that's just because it's Peach. She hasn't had a lot of time in the spotlight, so they may be trying for like to rope in more players versus even your standard Mario, which can get like tricky. I
Which is
don't see this
kind of
game being
Nintendo's
tricky.
MO anyway, is fun for the whole family playing together type of
Yeah.
games, right?
But
So,
but
yeah.
this game does look good, especially
Yeah.
from what we saw when it was announced earlier this summer to what they're showing today. It's a huge improvement. I would definitely at the very least try this game.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Dark to see you in our chat as we're recording this live over on our Twitch channel at VOG Network. Dark to see you says there's an action rhythm game Konami is publishing, and I found out there's Bamani stuff in it, so I'm very tempted. Yeah, that was very much the case. Like, and it always seems like there's these like little things that they just like
It's at the beginning.
they
It's
just
not towards
was
the
it at the
end.
beginning? They just
Yeah.
drop these little things on us, like, out of nowhere sometimes it seems, and they end up becoming some of the most exciting announcements that kinda overpower everything else. Um,
Yeah, it's called Super Crazy Rhythm Castle. I wrote it down. I am interested in that game. I couldn't tell really what was going on by the video, but I'm like, Konami and music games, or games that are related to music style stuff. Like I'm good. I want to play it.
mhm.
I would love a demo. A lot of these games, like I said, my like two highlights, but a lot of these games I'm somewhat interested in and would very much like a demo so I could be more interested in them.
Doesn't this look like Papa music, sort of? Like, the main mechanic in there is like this is when they talk about making Papa music for the US, and God, if you've been following music game stuff for
No,
the
it
US
doesn't. Where do
as
you
long
see
as we have it,
pop in
the whole,
music?
like, scrolling down to the bottom with the cute notes and it's centered
That,
and they're
I
different
mean,
colors. Like,
that's just like
I'm not saying it's like shot for shot, but I'm just like when you talk about making pop and music for a US audience, beat and groovy is not it. This is a little more it, I suppose. I don't know.
I would just say
It's
it's
hard to tell until we play it.
standard instrumental Konami music game. I wouldn't say pop in music because you could just say that's three key beat mania, or you could say it's
I
three
guess.
lane drum mania or whatever.
I guess, but for as much shit as we've given Konami over the oh, by the way, actually, I just noticed it in that screenshot as we were looking at that go by. I just noticed you can actually see some song names. They go by really
Yeah,
fast, but you
they're
actually
just
see like
Konami
Bloody
songs.
Tears, Vampire
Yeah,
Killer, Gradius Remix. Oh, that's I mean, Konami's got a great library of in-house music, and I'm sure they're leveraging the Bomani stuff too.
I feel
That's
like
awesome.
we should have all already moved past the Konami crapping on
Well, but that's
like
okay.
for that it's got that's like a thing that's from like at this point maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It doesn't even they're not the same company as they were when we were hating them. They've gone through
Yeah,
tons of management
I do
changes.
I do want to bring that up in the interest of fairness. I was actually getting to that is that for all the shit we've given Konami over the last few years about what absolute flops they've become, I do feel like we're in this interesting renaissance period because we see this, we've seen some of the recent like the Castlevania collections and things that have been very strong, and the arcade collections, and we're starting to see that Konami does seem to be leveraging their retro properties in a much more positive way. And I'm sure that's going to lead into me bringing up something else I thought was a bit of a highlight, and that was that Contra remake that we saw that was in there.
Yeah, with Way
That
Forward.
was being done by Way Forward. I thought that looked
Yeah.
really cool. I think it's great that they're putting that Switch kind of twist on it, where it's four people being able to play the whole thing, together. You can see in the little, there's an arcade mode, a challenge mode. So it seems like this is like old school type Contra, but with newer, like, it's maybe PS3 era graphics, but it's okay. It's okay. Like,
Oh
I don't think you
no,
have to have
it's
cutting
worse
edge
than
graphics.
PS3, but
Well,
um
you just had that polygon flip around. I don't think a two could have done that. But anyway, I get what you're
it's
saying.
it's a just a shooter. It doesn't need anything fancy
Yeah.
or side scrolling shooter. I
Well,
don't know
and
what you want to call
I
this
think it's
anymore.
good that it goes back to its roots a little bit because that
Yeah.
last one they had on was it the 3D? It wasn't good.
Yeah,
Well,
there's like
I
an
know Dark Tetsuya
isometric
liked it.
view,
Sorry,
I think.
but yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. It kind of flopped. So this looks, and I think Way Forward does a lot of good shit too. So I think that Contra thing was really a highlight for me. We have to at some point talk about F-Zero
Well,
because,
hold on. Let's not get into the negative yet.
well, I don't
Why
think it's
don't
necessarily negative for me.
Oh, well, I'm gonna be super negative.
All right,
I'll bring it down.
let's debate a little
Um,
bit. So, what do you want to talk about something before we get to F-Zero?
I guess that we can still talk about other things after F-Zero. So
Of
yeah,
course, it's
let's
no big
talk
deal.
about F-Zero 99.
Let's talk about F-Zero 99. Um, I I don't think I hate it as much as I thought I would when I first heard about the leak. I especially watched it, so I haven't gotten a chance to put my hands on this. Yeah, I know it's one of those surprise, it's out today type of releases. And in full disclosure, I've been working all day, so I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it yet. I did watch Orange Right stream a little bit of it here, so I noticed he got a shout out in our chat earlier, and rightfully so, because I actually watched him playing a little bit of this game, so I could kind of see what it was all about. And I was watching him go through the tutorial and so forth, and I was like, I don't think I hate this because I like that it is kind of like it still is like the Super Nintendo version, like widescreen and with modern graphics and modern mechanics. The part that worries me a little bit about this is that I feel like with the whole 99, it's going to get too chaotic. And I realize for some people, they're going to be like, well, F Zero, ever since the N64 version, was all about having a ton of racers. And that may be true, but like, I don't think that's why, like, if you go, why do you like F Zero GX? Why is that like one of your favorite racing games of all time? I like the futuristic themes, the music, the art, the fast. It wasn't all the people on the racetrack at once that made the series for me. So I think if there's a place where maybe this is a misfire, I wonder if when they were thinking about doing this game, they were really considering what makes F-Zero fun. I don't know, maybe that's fun for somebody, but I'm not sure it's the reason why I am into F-Zero. But I'm still going to download it and play it at least a little bit because I want them because if we don't, we're in that whole situation where it's like, oh, we don't need to ever make another F-Zero game again. We tried, it flopped, y'all didn't support Mario Kart 5 ever. Shane, I'm sure you have thoughts, response,
I have a
rebuttal.
lot of
All right,
thoughts.
get into it. Go.
So, watch the direct. This gets announced. Immediately, I'm like, man, we're never gonna get that GX remaster that keeps being rumored. And that's what I want. I want GX. I
Mhm.
love GX.
Mhm.
I have never really enjoyed Super Nintendo or even the Game Boy Advance version of F Zero. I don't think I think it's I think it's the same series in name only. I don't like the way those games play. So seeing a 99 version of it, I'm like, okay, I'm already like, I'm not gonna like this, but I will download it and give it a shot. So I downloaded it and gave it a shot. One, the tutorial does last way too long, like
Mhm.
way, way, way too long. Secondly, I don't like it at all. This game is not fun to me. I don't think F Zero in this direction, not the 99 direction, but using the the design of like the Game Boy Advance and the Super Nintendo style maps works nearly as well as it could have for a 99 game if they had chosen like the 64 version. Even that I think would have been fine. I
I do,
just
I do want to point out though there is a difference there between you and me. You don't have the sentimental attachment to the Super Nintendo version and so forth, and I do. F Zero was one of like the first games I owned for the Super Nintendo, and so I played a lot of F Zero, like when it
I
was original.
played
And
it a good
so
amount
I
as a
have,
kid.
yeah,
Like
I have just,
I had an N6 or Super Nintendo when it came out.
uh,
I don't. My cousin had F Zero. I did not. But I played. Oh, I mean, I played his Super Nintendo over at his house a whole lot too. So I mean, it's not like I didn't grow up with classic F Zero.
mhm.
It's just it's one of those things where
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think they picked the wrong version to do this with.
I also get that the original Super Nintendo version wasn't built for 99 people. So it is a weird,
Yeah.
and I noticed they did make changes like, when you go in, like when you start on a map, you have a very wide lane. You can kind of see it in the video how it like kind of funnels people into the track. So they actually went in and edited the tracks, which that alone is like I'm just kind of like, why didn't they just do like offline version of this where you could just play the original F-Zero with some new tracks? Like I would have been into that. Like,
Well, and here's the thing, like the presentation of this game is fantastic. You can tell that they put some decent work into it. Um, so maybe it would just be a lot harder to like add things to old F Zero. And
yeah.
I don't I want to give them credit where it's due. Like they tried. Their presentation's really nice. It's a great idea. I don't like it. That's all it is.
And it's fair. You don't have to like everything, and that's what these videos are for, is to look at all the perspectives. Let's look at some perspectives in chat. There's a few of you in chat tonight. Thanks for being here. SJ100 Matt says, I mean, it's cool that they're trying something new with it, but I get it. Kind of feels like a throwaway thing, but if it holds us over until hopefully a new game, then great. Yeah, I don't like the whole idea, and Orange Right says this too. I'm not a big fan of support what you don't want to get what you actually want, but I liked it. I get that completely. I feel like I'm just gonna support it. Maybe I will enjoy it. It has some cute unlockables and stuff. I just feel like I'm gonna get really frustrated, and it's like gonna be too hard to ever get beyond like 40th place. And so I'm just gonna be like, forget it. I just kind of wish it would mean so much more if that would launch together with like an offline version or something. Would have just been like so cool. I don't know.
Or if they'd been like, okay, if you don't have online and this doesn't appeal to you, here's DX.
Yeah,
You all want it anyway.
I know. I
But
know. All right. What are some other parts of the direct that you want to talk about, Shane?
so we have to talk about at least the name of Unicorn Overlord, because that was like hilarious. It's a tactical RPG from Atlas and Vanillaware, and the trailer's like very dramatic looking, and then at the end it's like Unicorn Overlord, and yeah, just I about died because I watched this while I was waiting for class to start,
Hmm.
and like I had to not laugh really loud because it was so early in the morning and I didn't want to disturb anybody.
And what's up with these
Um,
7 a.m. presentation? I mean, I get West Coast is behind, and couldn't they do it at like noon Eastern? Even that'd be like 9
no,
a.m. is
because
enough time for me to have coffee.
it's to try to hit all the time zones, not just
Uh,
America's.
I guess. I guess.
Um, let's see what else. Weird League of Legends spin-offs that didn't interest me. It's cool, I guess, if you like League of Legends to have that world like broadened.
Hmm.
Um, I'm looking through my list here.
I know one that I
Uh,
wanted to talk about as I was looking through is I wanted to mention the Saga Emerald Beyond that showed up. I'm
okay.
gonna okay. Here's where my take differs with a lot of people. I have never enjoyed the Saga series. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, I
I'm
hate the
sorry.
Saga games
They
so
are
much.
like the worst. It's the worst Square
They're
Enix
really
PlayStation RPG
bad.
franchise. I'm sorry. And I know there are people that will there's going to be a nasty YouTube comment that says F you, Saga is the best. And I get it. I respect it.
I
I have
I like
never gotten into this series ever.
I liked some of the paths in Saga Frontier 1, and that's the highest praise I can give the series. But I gotta say, like, this trailer makes me want to at least try it. I think it looks interesting. The characters look good. The combat looked good. I'm gonna get tricked again. I know that's what it is. If I try it,
The
it's
th-
gonna be terrible,
the
but
thing that
I want to
sold
play it.
the thing that sold me a little bit, or not sold me. I'm not gonna get it. I know I don't like Saga games, and it's not
I
gonna
would do a
happen.
demo, at
Yeah, if there's a
least.
demo, I'd check it out. I'll give you that. Maybe my mind will be changed. But I noticed they were selling it like it just struck it like they were marketing it like it was an Octopath Traveler game or something in
No,
that universe
no,
because they were talking about the
no.
different stories crossing and
That's
the
how all
different.
Saga games are.
I know that's how they are, but I felt like it was like they were like really leaning into that and not talking about
But
like the game mechanics, which are what always drove me crazy.
But I mean, this is a series that's prior to Octopath. It does.
Whatever,
I think,
whatever.
yeah, it
I
doesn't
still think
make sense.
Octopath's success is part of the reason, but it's whatever.
Um,
I thought this was interesting too, this Tomb Raider
no,
reboot. Well,
interesting is the
it's
good word for it.
interesting. It's just like, oh, really, of everything you could do, this remaster. But there are people that really love. I mean, it is one of the
Oh
best
no,
selling PC series and all that. But it does seem like this is the remaster people weren't asking for.
yeah, I think if they would just put I mean, because you can toggle it to the old graphics, but if they just did the old graphics trilogy, that would have been fine. I think the remastered new graphics look terrible. Look very stiff, very
I
ugly.
think they had to. Well, remember how terrible she looked originally, which is funny because that was so cutting edge at the time. But
I
she
think she
looks really
looks
terrible in
worse.
retrospect. Well, they have to make her look bad because if it's a true HD remaster, it's going to have to follow the same shape generally, so it's not
Yeah.
going to look good. So
Um, I mean, you're like on the screen right now on mine. It's like you're showing Detective Pikachu.
no, I'm
I
just
don't
letting it run.
really have any desire to rehash what they've already shown before, um, except WarioWare. And the only reason I want to point out
Oh
WarioWare
yeah.
is that is clearly a different voice actor. Am I wrong?
Oh, for Wario? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
definitely a different, which is interesting because it sounded like the same voice actor from Mario. It sounded like Charles Martinet in I think in the Mario versus Donkey Kong trailer. it sounded like him, which
Oh, I don't even remember that
I don't think
part.
they would have reused the samples from the advance, so I think it is a new recording, but you're right, Wario sounded different here, for
Yeah.
sure. Um,
And it
also,
still looks great because I love WarioWare games, so I'm like, I
uh,
love this.
I am going to strongly disagree. I think this game looks awful.
No, it
I think it's
looks
gonna look
exactly like the Wii one,
no,
and
this looks awful to me, and I
the Wii one
love
was so
WarioWare.
good.
I hate how it's all these dippy mechanics that they're shoving into it now, and it's like, you gotta pose and do all these things and put the controller in your butt, now scrub. Like, it's just
No,
like it's all these weird things,
it's
I
just
don't
the
like it. I
successor
don't
to
like it.
Smooth Moves. That's fine because we have a proper WarioWare game already on Switch.
I
It is
know.
literally on my shelf in the other
I
room.
know we do, but
So
I just
this is just like this is transitional to the next system. They wanted to get out another game. Here's one where you can use
but
the
that is one
Joy-Cons
I
in
will
a fun
not be
way.
buying just to support the series.
Oh,
Clearly
I would
enough people are
100%.
buying it,
Yeah,
clearly. But in
yeah.
the words of Wario, I have to say to that game, that's it. What else?
I mean, I thought it was cool they announced the Sora amiibo. Okay, like I'm kind of over amiibos,
I've been
so
over Amiibo for like 4 years.
um looking at my notes, there's a lot of games I just like. Oh, Trombone Champ. That's cool. I'm glad it's on something else besides PC. It's hilarious. I know it's out today already. Um
It also feels like something where it's like, oh, the joke kind of passed 3 months ago or maybe even more far. I don't, but when they were doing the multiplayer, that did sound really
that
funny,
was
and I think
yeah, that's
that's gonna
hilarious.
be the best audience for this game. Is it's gonna be like people that do know it from the PC that want to show their friends how absurd this game is, and then they kind of like all play it together in the same room, and it just sounds, like four trombones playing poorly sound. And I think that's where the hilarity is going to be. So I get it. All these again motion control things,
No,
I roll
the
my
IR
eyes.
thing is brilliant. I think that's really
Really?
cool. I think that justifies it alone. Yeah, because that's
I don't
basically
think
like
it's going to
playing a
work that
trombone.
well. It's not going to work that well.
The IR sensor is really good. I think it will be fine. Um, I don't know if this launched on any other systems today, if this is only Switch, but if it is only Switch,
Well, I think with the
they
improvements they made, it's got to be only Switch.
well, I mean, they don't have to have those parts in the other
I guess
systems
that's true.
versions.
That's
But
true.
if this is only on Switch today, there is a huge missed opportunity to add Nintendo songs to it because
Yeah, I thought
that
that
would have
too.
made it like way better.
I thought that too. At least, the burr, 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 burr,
Yeah. Yeah.
burr.
And then
It's going to be really
trying to hit that
funny.
very low note. It'd
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah,
But
missed opportunity a little bit, but okay.
yeah.
Anything else you want to bring up for Nintendo Direct?
Looking. And I'm not talking about old games, though. I'm going to
Okay,
quickly say Mario RPG's new mechanics look great. I'm very
I'm
excited
gonna
for that.
yeah, I'm gonna bring up old game because I, of course, am loving the look at Mario RPG. I
Oh
think a lot
yeah,
of folks are really hyped about this.
so
But
hyped.
I did see some kind of feedback that, like, the new mechanics look like they might be too overpowering. Is it a way to make this game a little more easier for, as video games have generally gotten easier? I don't
I
know if folks
mean,
would say it's making it more accessible, whatever, family friendly, but is it
so
making it easier?
we don't know if there's any like options to turn these off. The damage all enemies thing does seem a little strange to me, but if you don't want to hit the little bar that goes up to 100%, then don't attack with it. There, problem solved. Just ignore it.
Yeah. Well, and we don't know if the game may be just rebalanced to accommodate for some of this too. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be
True.
a one for one. We already saw in this they're adding new bosses. They're adding new things, which is good. I think it's
Well, we
really
didn't
good.
see new bosses, but
Or
we did
sorry,
see
like re
boss fight
this
refights.
post game boss rematches. That's what they're
Yes.
that's what they're calling it. But yes.
Yeah.
So
So, and those, I mean, the one with what's his name, Booster, like he hit you for 900 or 9,999. Like that, I don't think any attack that hits everybody or your little gauge is really going to prevent that. So yeah, it's going to be harder for the people that want harder stuff.
right. And Deft in our chat says the game isn't about the challenge, it's all about the characters and the story. I mean,
Yeah.
true. Like that's the part that I think most of us that are excited for a remake, which is just about everybody who ever played the original. That's really what it's all about. But and I'm
Mhm.
still just kind of curious how some of these things might kind of change the balance of the
Oh,
game and
and the
the experience
remixed
playing it.
music. I can't wait for the remixed
Yeah, the
music.
remix music was pretty good. Um,
Um,
the one other thing I'll shout out, and I don't think this was new news. Well, there's a couple of things actually. They were at the beginning because I know this Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Like I know they showed this before.
it looks okay.
Yeah, I
Just
think. Well, I think there's a lot of people that are kind of into the whole like Metroidvania Prince of
oh,
Persia looking thing, and
I
I
think
think it looks
that's the
interesting.
direction the series should go.
I do
I think that's
too.
great,
So
but
yeah.
I don't know. The game looks passable, but it doesn't look great.
Hmm. I don't know. I
Um,
think I'd really like to give this a shot.
I
But
we
I'm a sucker for
also
Metroidvania too. So whatever.
did you finish Dread?
No.
Okay. Um, we have to mention also the Paper Mario game, Thousand Year Door
Yeah, of
remake.
course we do.
Um, my initial notes on here is super yawn. I do not like the Paper
Really?
Mario games. I do hear this is the best one. I've never played this one, so maybe I'll give it a shot. But I mean, you give me Mario RPG or you give me Paper Mario, I'm just gonna take Mario RPG again. I
Well,
don't.
I think the thing about this game for me is that it just looks so elevated compared to the original. It just like, with the advanced graphics, which is funny to say about a Paper Mario game, but just like the fluidity and the way everything looks and it looks elevated and I think it'll be pretty cool. And yeah, I would agree this is, long before they were cranking these games out every year, and I think this is yeah, I think this will be a worthy investment. I'm excited. It's maybe I'm a little surprised that this of all games got a remake, but okay,
Well,
it has its
it's
audience,
like the most beloved Paper Mario that there is.
True,
Like I scream for GX, like everybody else does for F Zero. This
true.
is the one people scream for Paper Mario games.
Yeah, I
So
gotcha, I gotcha. And then one game that we didn't mention that I'd scroll by. I think it's because I think it's been mentioned before, but it's also one of those out today things. But since I do love racers, Horizon Chase 2 is out, and this is I think after because this is under Epic Games now because they bought the folks that made the original, and I think it looks good.
looks
Um,
like a
but
DS game.
it
Like
also looks like the type of game that's going to be on PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass in like 3 months.
or I don't know, it already came out on the Wii or something. It just does not look
I think
good.
that's a little much, but yeah, I think it looks cute. It's got some varying environments, so I'm into it. Well, I think we about covered everything in the direct. Is there anything? Well, everything. I mean, we didn't really just want to go bullet by bullet and list everything out, but
Oh,
is there any other things that you wanted to talk about?
my final thought about the direct is I'm so glad the Mario Kart 8 DLC is about to end. Like that went on for too long. Does anybody really care at this point?
It's the number one selling game on the
I
Switch.
don't. Well, it's because
They got to sell those
they
online ads.
they force it on new Switch owners like every holiday. There's always the Mario Kart bundle. It's
But
always the Mario
it's
Kart
the game
bundle.
everybody knows. Everybody knows Mario Kart. Like they
But
had to put a Mario Kart scene in the Mario Brothers movie because probably more people have played Mario Kart at this point than a modern Mario Brothers game.
the problem with Mario Kart 8 is it's a Wii U game that we just can't get rid of. We can't go past Mario Kart 8.
Yeah,
I'm just so tired of it.
yeah. But I do love the fact that Pauline is in it. I think that's a great addition for characters. Just saying. Um,
Uh,
but where's Dixie
they,
Kong?
they they peaked at the Koopa Kids, and it just doesn't matter after that.
Whatever. Whatever. All right. So that's everything you have to say about the direct. I don't know my final thought. Again,
Yeah.
I think it's fine. The Switch clearly. Actually, I will say this. I really liked. If we're talking about final thoughts, I really liked how at the end of the whole thing they recapped everything. I thought this
Oh,
was
I
really
hated that.
good.
I thought it was a
No,
stupid
no,
time waster. Even
no,
though Oshawott showed up, I was like, I
no.
don't care. I already knew all this.
Yes,
I
but
watched your
this was a
directs.
very good way to lay it out for people. especially if, the people, because again, they're still trying to sell Switch systems this Christmas, holiday, whatever. They're still trying to move those things. I thought that was a very smart way to lay out. We've got a game coming here, 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 here. This is a regularly supported system because, and I think this is a soft spot for Nintendo because it was the Wii U's biggest problem. There was too many periods that went by where there was like nothing, especially from first party. So I think it's actually very smart of Nintendo to lay it out and make the case of game, 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 game. This is a regularly supported thing, and we've still got plenty of things coming. And maybe in a way, to counteract those rumors of the Switch too, of like, oh no, you don't need to wait because we got all of this coming now. Take a look. So I disagree with you, Shay. I mean, sure, for those of us that are like paying attention and following everything, yeah, it felt like fluff and wasted time. But I just thought it was a smart move generally for Nintendo.
I guess. I think that's a thing they didn't have to add to the direct and could have just been a YouTube video later in the day.
Or something they show before the movies at the movie theater, because I know Nintendo sometimes advertises there.
Oh yeah, I've seen Nintendo ads at the theater. That would have been a fine thing for that
There you
too.
go. Actually, there was one other thing that we almost overlooked. Sorry, I'm going to think of all these things that I wanted to ask you about, and that is, are you going to take a trip to go to the
No.
Nintendo Museum?
I mean, oh, I wrote down stuff. I was like, first I was like, this isn't a game. So why is it in the Nintendo Direct? Second, I'd have to travel to
They
Japan to
talked
get there,
about the
which I
theme
would.
park and the directs and the movies and the directs. They can talk about the
Yeah,
museum.
but those weren't in like the Nintendo Directs. Those had like their own things
No, it
going
was
on.
in the direct at one point. They've talked about both those things in the direct. That's fine.
Well, it's still stupid to put that in there.
And amiibos
Um,
aren't games, technically.
but they're for the games. This is not like
Okay.
I go to the museum, I take it home with me, I can tap it on my Switch controller and it puts something in my game. I think it's cool. I would I'd be down to go. But like Japan is expensive to get to. And so you know how they curate these directs for each region.
Mhm.
I think this could have been left out of ours.
All right. I I I I thought it was nice to see that Nintendo is doing something about game preservation, and I'll leave it at that. Um, that's going to do it for our Nintendo Direct September 2023 wrap up and reactions. Thank you, Shane, for being here. Do you have anything you want to plug?
My ears, I don't know.
Fine. Then I will plug Orange Lounge Radio live Sunday nights here at the Voice Geeks Network, twitch.tv/VOG Network. And if you're enjoying these chats, please consider giving us a follow over on Twitch TV. And of course, a follow, subscribe, like, all that good stuff on our YouTube channel. Really appreciate y'all watching this. And at the end of the day, it's all about these video games. And I hope y'all enjoy playing some fun video games. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time.